A brilliant black boy scores the highest in his class mathematics test, but his racist teacher refuses to believe it. She is certain he cheated, adding that he couldn't have beaten his black classmates. Suddenly, a shocking truth is revealed, and what happens next will leave you speechless. Before we dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The classroom was dead silent. 17-year-old Ethan Reynolds sat at his desk, staring down at his graded test paper. A bright red 100% was marked at the top. He should have been smiling, proud of his hard work, but instead, he felt the weight of every stare in the room. Miss Kimberly Jackson, the math teacher, stood at the front, her face twisted in disbelief. She tapped her marker against the whiteboard, shaking her head as if trying to wake herself up from a dream. "This," she pointed at Ethan's paper, her voice tight, "is impossible." A few students snickered, others watched in quiet confusion. Ethan clenched his jaw. "What do you mean impossible?" Jackson folded her arms. "No one in this class has ever scored a perfect 100% on my advanced test." "And then you," she paused, glancing at him like he didn't belong, "suddenly managed to, and by such a huge margin over the others." The room tensed. Ethan felt his stomach drop. He knew what she was implying. He had always been one of the smartest students in school, but Jackson never acknowledged his intelligence. She praised students like Zoe Bennett and Darius Washington, the white kids from wealthy families, while barely looking at Ethan when he raised his hand. He sat up straighter. "I studied hard for this test. You gave us the review sheet, and I don't believe it," Jackson cut in. Her voice was sharper now. "There's no way you got this score fairly." A gasp rippled through the class. Ethan's heart pounded. "Are you accusing me of cheating?" Jackson didn't blink. "I am." Laughter erupted from Zoe's side of the room. Darius covered his mouth, pretending to be shocked, but his smirk was clear. Ethan's fingers curled into fists. "That's not true," he shot back. "I've always been good at math. I worked for this." Jackson grabbed his test paper, waving it in the air. "Then, explain how you solved these problems with such precision. Show me your notes." Ethan swallowed hard. "Two don't have them." "I did most of the work in my head," Jackson scoffed. "Right. So you magically solved college-level calculus in your head? I don't think so." She turned to the class. If he really understood this test, he should be able to rework these problems right now. Murmurs spread across the room. Some students looked at Ethan with pity. Others, like Zoe, smirked, leaning back in their chairs to enjoy the show. Ethan's breath came faster. His hands felt clammy. Jackson slammed a blank sheet of paper on his desk. "Go on. Let's see you do it again." He stared at the paper. He knew he could solve the equations again, but that wasn't the point. The point was that he was being singled out. Being treated like this, he lifted his chin. "Why don't you make Zoe or Darius redo their answers?" Jackson's eyes flashed. They didn't score a perfect 100. Ethan's anger burned in his chest. He could feel the sting of humiliation crawling up his spine. "Maybe," he said slowly. "You just don't believe a black boy can be smarter than your favorite students." A heavy silence fell over the room. Jackson's jaw tightened. Her face turned red. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Ethan said, his voice steady. "You've never liked me, never called on me in class, never praised me when I answered correctly. But now that I've beaten everyone, suddenly I must be a cheater." A few students shifted in their seats. The tension was thick, suffocating. Jackson's lips curled into a sneer. "I don't care what nonsense you're spewing. I am reporting this to the principal. Until then." She yanked the test paper from his desk and crumpled it in her fist. "Your grade is invalid." Ethan's stomach twisted. "This isn't fair," he whispered. "Life isn't fair," Jackson snapped. Just then, the classroom door swung open. Principal Vanessa Torres, a tall, serious-looking Hispanic woman in her early 50s, stepped inside. Her sharp eyes scanned the room before settling on Jackson. "Ms. Jackson," she said, her voice calm but firm, "can I have a word?" Jackson stiffened. "Ma'am, I was just—" Torres held up a hand. "Outside, now." Jackson hesitated but followed. As soon as the door closed behind them, the room erupted into whispers. Zoe chuckled under her breath. "Guess your little act didn't work, Reynolds." Ethan ignored her, staring at the door. His pulse pounded in his ears. Something felt off. But what happened next shocked everyone. The door swung open again, and Principal Torres walked in with someone unexpected, Dr. Harrison Powell, the superintendent of the entire school district. The room fell silent instantly. Dr. Powell, a distinguished white man with salt and pepper hair, surveyed the classroom with piercing eyes. "Miss Jackson will not be returning to class today," Torres announced. She turned to Ethan. "Mr. Reynolds, could you come with us, please?" Ethan's throat went dry. He grabbed his bag and stood up, his legs shaking slightly as he followed them out. In the hallway, he saw Mr. Rivera, the school's technology coordinator, standing beside a laptop on a rolling cart. But there was something else, a small drone with a camera attached to it. Ethan looked confused. Dr. Powell spoke first. "Mr. Reynolds, are you aware that our school has been piloting a new classroom observation program?" Ethan shook his head. Powell continued, "We've been using discrete drones to monitor teaching practices across the district. It's part of our new initiative to ensure educational equity." Rivera pressed a button, and the screen showed footage from earlier that morning. Jackson was at her desk, sorting through test papers. When she reached Ethan's, her entire demeanor changed. She stared at it for a long time, then pulled out her phone and texted someone. "This black boy somehow got 100%. No way I'm letting that stand." The footage continued. It showed Jackson deliberately marking correct answers as incorrect on previous tests, but only on Ethan's papers. There was more. Audio recordings of her telling another teacher, "I need to make sure these black kids know their place. They're getting too confident these days." Ethan's jaw dropped. Torres looked at him sympathetically. "This isn't just about today, Ethan. We've uncovered a pattern of discrimination that's been going on for months." But the biggest shock came next. Dr. Powell pulled out another tablet. "There's something else you should see." He played a video of Jackson meeting with Zoe and Darius before school, giving them advance copies of test questions and answers. "Make sure you beat Reynolds this time," she was heard saying. Ethan felt like the floor had dropped from beneath him. "They've been cheating all along?" Powell nodded grimly. "And you've been outscoring them anyway, even with the deck stacked against you." "Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this." Torres placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Ms. Jackson has been terminated, effective immediately. And as for Zoe and Darius," she glanced at Powell, who nodded, "they'll face a disciplinary hearing." But there was yet another twist. As they stood in the hallway, a woman in a tailored suit approached them. "Mr. Reynolds?" she said, extending her hand. "I'm Alexandra Winters from the National Mathematics Foundation. We've been monitoring this situation closely." Ethan blinked in confusion. "You have?" Winters smiled. "Dr. Powell contacted us when the pattern of discrimination first emerged. We wanted to see how you would handle the pressure." She handed him an envelope. "Congratulations. You've been awarded our prestigious Young Mathematician Scholarship, full ride to any university of your choice." Ethan's hands trembled as he accepted the envelope. I don't understand." "Your resilience under pressure is exactly what we look for," Winters explained. "Not just mathematical brilliance, but character." The news spread through Westlake High School like wildfire. By lunch, everyone was talking about Jackson's firing and the shocking revelation of the cheating ring. Ethan sat alone, still processing everything that had happened. Then, unexpectedly, Zoe approached his table. Her usual confidence was gone. "Can I sit?" she asked quietly. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. "I knew it was wrong, but—" She paused. "My parents would have killed me if I didn't get straight A's. When Jackson offered to help, I took it." Ethan studied her face. "Why are you telling me this?" Zoe looked down. "Because you earned that score, fair and square, and her voice cracked, "I never did." This unexpected moment of honesty was interrupted when Principal Torres's voice came over the PA system. "All students report to the auditorium immediately." The auditorium filled quickly with confused students and teachers. Dr. Powell stood on stage with Principal Torres and several board members. Once everyone was seated, Powell stepped to the microphone. "Today, we've uncovered something disturbing at Westlake High, a culture of bias that has been allowed to fester." Murmurs spread through the crowd. "But this is bigger than one teacher or a few students. It's about the integrity of our educational system." Powell's gaze swept across the room. "Effective immediately, we're implementing a blind grading policy across the district. All student names will be replaced with numbers during grading to eliminate bias." The announcement caused a stir. Powell continued. "And we're establishing an anonymous reporting system for any student who experiences discrimination of any kind." Then he did something unexpected. "Mr. Reynolds, please join me on stage." Ethan froze. Slowly, he made his way to the stage, aware of hundreds of eyes following him. "This young man," Powell said, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder, "persevered despite systematic attempts to undermine him. His story has inspired a complete overhaul of our district's policies." The audience was silent, absorbing the gravity of the situation. "For his excellence, resilience, and unwavering commitment to his education," Powell continued, "I'm proud to announce that Ethan Reynolds will represent our district at the International Mathematics Olympiad in Tokyo this summer." The auditorium erupted in applause. Students stood, some whistled. Even teachers looked impressed. Ethan's eyes widened in disbelief. As the applause continued, Dr. Powell leaned closer to Ethan. "There's one more thing," he said quietly. "The drone program, it was actually your idea." Ethan stared at him in confusion. Powell smiled. "Not you specifically, but last year you wrote an essay for the district competition about using technology to ensure fairness in education. We implemented your proposal." Ethan remembered the essay but had no idea anyone had actually read it, let alone acted on it. The realization that his own words had created the system that ultimately saved him was overwhelming. As he looked out at the sea of faces, some supportive, some ashamed, some still processing, Ethan realized something profound. The system hadn't just exposed one biased teacher, it had revealed the truth about everyone, including himself. He hadn't just proven his mathematical ability, he'd discovered his own strength. If you believe in standing up for what's right, hit that subscribe button. And remember, never let anyone tell you what you're worth.